Hey, and welcome back to the channel. We're continuing on with the PC build for February 2018, and we're checking out the NZXT Kraken X62 all-in-one liquid cooler, and let's check out what's inside the box. So before we do the Kraken X62 unboxing, let's go ahead and take a look at what we last did, which was this is an overview of the removal of the plastic, the installation of the CPU, and the installation of the memory modules. So far, it's looking pretty good. So here we are with the NZXT Kraken X62 all-in-one liquid cooler. Let's open this puppy up. This will be my first ever experience with a liquid cooler of any kind. Now this is, from what I understand, a closed system. It's already been factory sealed with the liquid cooling. There's nothing that we should be having to do with anything of adding liquid or anything that you normally see like in a custom liquid cooling situation. This is an all-in-one design, so I'm going to assume we just unbox it and bolt it on. That's my assumption, and I hope it's that easy. So here we have everything unboxed with one quick guide. We have two 140mm fans, the radiator with the pump, we have the cables, and we have also two separate types of brackets, one for the AMD side of things and one for the Intel. The AMD bag has the little green sticker on it, and it does say AMD on it, so that's very handy. So this cooler is designed to be for a multitude of different Intel socket types of various processors. So double check the quick guide in which position you want the brackets to be in. Flip it over, poke it through the hole, turn it back on its front, and then you grab the appropriate standoffs, screw them all in, and you're ready to mount the pump. And with the bracket install out of the way, let's move on to the case prep and get that radiator installed with the fans. Now, as we know, I'm using the NZXT H440 steel case in white. It's a nice case. I like it. It looks great. There's a couple things we need to do. Mainly, we have to replace, or rather move, the three fans that are in the front to the top, and then we're going to front mount the radiator and then attach the pump to the processor later at some point. So this will require, a little bit of finagling, moving stuff around, making sure it all works in the proper place. Every case is a little different. This is how we do it on this one, but if you have a different brand of case, you will have to appropriately plan out in advance what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be mounting that radiator, either at the top or on the front. It all just depends on your choice of case. Alright, so after removing all the side paneling and those 5 drive bays, we're ready to move the 3 front fans to the top of the case so that we can make room for the Kraken radiator to be mounted in the front, along with its included 140mm fans. These fans will be bringing cool air in over top of the radiator, and the top 3 fans will be pushing the hot air out. Alright, so here we are, a little bit fast forward. We have now mounted all 3 120mm fans that came with the case. We mounted them up top. And there it is, all done. So next up is the radiators. As you can see, we have to mount the included fans in between the actual case bracket and the radiator. This was difficult because the included screws are so short, I couldn't even properly get the camera to sit at the proper angle to even show how I got the two together. So mind you, again, patience will be required. This was a little challenging, to say the least. Alright, so now we are ready to drop in the motherboard, and before you do that, of course, you want to verify that you have already inserted, like we have already done. Remember to put in the I/O shield before putting in your motherboard and screwing it all down, because otherwise you're going to have to undo everything, and I've made that mistake in the past myself. Just remember to do it. I/O shield first, click it in, and then mount the motherboard. Now, when you are bolting down the motherboard, I generally do not tighten it all the way tight on the first round of placing in all 6 to 8 screws. You just lightly tighten them, just lightly put them in place, so that way you can wiggle the motherboard around just a little bit to make sure all the I/O points line up, and then you go back and you really do a couple more hand tighten twists on each screw and then call it done. Of course, you don't want to over tighten anything, but just do it very lightly. Make sure you can wiggle the motherboard around again in place. Check the I/O shield to make sure that all the ports line up. Then go ahead and totally fasten down everything. Probably a good 3 turns should do it. Just remember not to over tighten it, because you could strip the screw out, and that would be not so good. So now everything's tightened down, and just go back and kind of try to wiggle the motherboard around. Otherwise, everything should be in place just fine and dandy. So here we've done a lot of stuff, and we've mounted the radiator with the two 140mm fans up front, as we can see, and I'll show you the insides of it. You can see kind of the clearance. There's not a lot of room to work with. I've had to remove all 5 drive bays to mount that radiator there, which is fine because I won't need that many drive bays anyway. But for those of you that do, you may have to mount it up top instead, but that's a personal preference and based on your hardware, your choice of case enclosure. You'll have to make those decisions. And there are the 3 120mm fans up top. Looks good. Those are going to be pushing air out, whereas the other 2 will be pulling air in. So yeah, it looks good. And here's an inside shot of what it kind of still looks like. The pump is still not attached to the processor. I am a big fan of waiting for that. I don't want to do that just yet because it will restrict how we can place all the fan cables and all the little tiny cables that will need to be placed around. I'm going to wait with mounting of the liquid cooler fan portion of the pump onto the processor. But as you can see, it looks really nice, really shiny. Everything's in place. It wasn't that difficult to do, and it looks, so far, it looks fantastic. We're just going to continue on in the next video with most likely the power supply and working on the back side of the messy side of the case where all the cables are, and we'll have to do some cable management. So until then, this will do it for today's episode. In the description below are all the items that I have used in this build. Those are Amazon affiliate links, so if you are shopping, do consider using those links. That would be very appreciated. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will catch you next time in another video. Thanks so much for watching.